So my name is Ernie Weijers. I work at RIVM, the National Institute for Health and the Environment, and I work in the field of air quality with a special focus on low-cost air quality sensors. So one of the actions in the vacuums project was testing gas sensors on their performance in the laboratory of RIVM. It was actually the first time that we did such a thing, and I have to say it was a rewarding experience. We learned a lot. In this speech, I will briefly tell you what we did, how we did it, and give two examples to demonstrate all this. First, the sensors. Here a list of systems that were selected at the start, and 5 units of each type were purchased and tested. They were made available by VMM. And then what did we do? We used the so-called exposure box. A photo of this is on the right. Inside the box you are able to change humidity, temperature and the presence of pollutants in a controlled manner. A reference instrument measured the gas concentration inside. Its inlet was positioned in the center, and also temperature and humidity were registered. The box itself is large enough to contain all the systems, and the testing was then done in one cycle, so simultaneously for every sensor. One of the tests was a ramping experiment. We changed the concentration in the box every 2 hours, keeping temperature and relative humidity constant, and studied the response of the sensors. Here the result for the two NO2 sensors. The reading of the reference instrument is in red. Sensors have various colors, and as you can see, sensors react to changes in the concentrations rather well. They follow the reference rather well, but interesting is also to see that the concentrations as measured by the sensors always underestimate the reference signal. And this is especially apparent at the higher levels. Well, this was not unexpected. We already know this from tests in the field and other lab experiments, but it clearly demonstrates the need for a further calibration. Well, here was the second example. This was the alpha sense, and here we have the care clip, and both they react in the same manner. The second example, does a sensor measure other gases than the one that it is made for, is used for, the cross interference? Here we have two NO2 sensors. Sorry, we have 4 NO2 sensors, the alpha sense, care clip and 2 membrane pores. And again, we use here a ramping test with different levels of ozone while keeping the NO2 at the 0 level. Reference instruments are again in red. The dotted line is NO2 at a 0 level. It's here. And the dashed line denotes ozone with 2 step changes. And what is the result? Well, we see a different response for different sensors. Whereas alpha sense in green and care clip in blue remain at the 0 level, both membrane pores deviate and are influenced by the presence of ozone. The one sensor even more than the other. So, very briefly, 2 examples demonstrating the use of the exposure box and also demonstrating the work that we did in vacuums. We studied more properties and gave results in fact sheets per sensors, and also one summarizing results for all sensors. And here's then an example for NO2 demonstrating what we looked at more in the project. As you can see, several properties were studied: linearity, deviation from the reference, stability between sensor uncertainty, and the response to a change in relative humidity. We did something similar for the ozone sensors. Well, basically this is what I'm going to tell in more detail in my talk, and you can also find these results in one of the vacuum reports. So this was the last sheet of my presentation, and I would like to thank you very much for your attention.